Okay, Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Pei Aleph in Ksubas as we learn for a four shlema for Elazar ben Reuma and Yosef ben Chaim Michal. Don't forget today to do the principles if you haven't done it yet. Also, the day after Rosh Hashanah, which is Tzom Gedalia, and then Thursday and Friday and Sunday and Monday, we'll be learning 20 minutes earlier than normal, which is 5 o'clock because of the Slichas. And then hopefully by Erev and Kippur, we'll go back to our regular schedule. So Gemara says like this: the bottom of Peyam and Beis, Shomer Siyavim Shemesa. Shomer Siyavim, we know what that is. Reuben was married to Leah, Reuben died with no children, and now she falls even to Shimon. But Shimon has not yet consummated. He hasn't yet even made even more chalitza. And she dies, Shemesa. What happens now? Who buries her? Mikover, who's responsible to bury her? Yorshia Baal Kavrila. Do the Yorshim of the husband bury her? Who are the Yorshim of the husband? You think it's his brothers, right? Their father, but actually it's the Yavam himself, right? Shimon. He's the one who gets all of Reuben's assets. So is he responsible to bury her? A man is responsible to bury his wife in return for the ksuba. When a wife dies, what happens? The ksuba. Ksuba works both ways. If the man dies or divorces her, she gets the ksuba. If she dies, he keeps it. So in this case, the Yavam would keep it. So do you say Yorshia Baal, meaning the Yavam would bury her? The Kiyar, he gets the ksuba. So in return for the ksuba, because he gets to keep all the money now, he gets to keep Reuben's money, and including the ksuba, she died. So does he have to bury her? Odil Yorshia Av Kavila, or no? Her family has to bury her. Why? The Kiyar they get the nechse mulug. Remember the stuff that's written into the ksuba, the nechse sam barzel. If he dies, she gets it. If she dies, he gets it. But the nechse mulug belong to her family. So do you say who's responsible to pay for her burial? That's the issue. Bituach Lumi doesn't pay for it or whatever. So who's supposed to pay for her burial? Is it the husband's family, meaning the Yavam, or is it her family? Amar of Amram, the last line of the page. Tashma Tanya Shemer Siyam Shemesa. Yorsheha Yorshek Subasa Chayv Mikrasa. The ones who inherit, or meaning the ones who get the ksuba, meaning the husband's family, or her deceased husband's family, that would be the Yavam, has to pay for. Amar Abaya, okay, that's what he decided, and that's the halacha. Amar Abaya, Afanan Teniya. We see this in the Bryce also. Why? Amana, in a normal case where a husband dies, Amana is onus minachse yisomim. She gets maintenance, that's support from the nechasim of the yisomim until she gets remarried. Remember, that's the halacha. Then she's entitled to eat in the house. And her paycheck goes to them because she's living in the house and getting their support. So whatever she makes, she should also contribute to the household. But these yisomim don't have to bury her. The yisomim, meaning yisomim of her husband, might be hers, might be her children, might be just her husband's children, but they don't have to support, they don't have to bury her. Who does have to bury her? Oh, so wait a minute. First he tells you that the yisomim don't have to bury her. Then he tells you that the Yorsheh, her yisomim, her heirs, the ones who inherit the ksuba, do have to bury her. So we're talking about two different sets of Yorshim. What do you mean Yorshim? You say on the one hand, the Yorshim, right? She gets maintenance from them. She has to give them her paycheck, but they don't have to bury her. Then you say that Yorshei Yorshei are have to bury her. The Ezui Almana Sheish. So what are we talking about? What kind of an almana has two different kinds of Yorshim? They're either almana dies, she has her husband's Yorshim to deal with. It might be her children as well, but the key is her husband yarshin her. So his children Yarsh get the Yerusha. So Amana, what kind of an Amana are we dealing with that has to deal with two different kinds of Yorshim? Avayomer Zu Shemer Siyavim. So Shemer Siyavim. Why? Because on the one hand, her ksuba, if she's an Amana and she dies, her ksuba is on her husband's family. In this case, it would be a Yavam. And on the other hand, she also has Yorshim of her family, her own family. Otherwise, normally, you don't have that kind of a thing. Where do you have a Shosh? Rashi says, the Itzrach Latana Lemesne, the third line, what's the kind of woman has two kinds of Yorshim? Itzrach Latana Lemesne, Osa Yorshim, She Yorshim Subasa, those are the ones that get a ksuba. We're just talking about regular. We know Nichse Malug belonged to her family, and the ksuba goes to her husband's family. So why are we talking about she has two kinds of Yorshim? The one who is responsible to feed her, and the other ones, the ones who get her ksuba, they have to bury her. Aren't those one and the same people? We're not talking about her family now getting nechset milug. We're talking about the yorshim of her and her husband. Her husband's yorshim. Isn't that one and the same? No, it's not the same. In other words, why? Because the ones who get the ksuba, they have to bury her. The ones who inherit her husband's stam, they're the ones who have to feed her, and not necessarily the same people. So what kind of is only a shemeres yavam? Because otherwise it's one of the same group. It's the same orphans who have to feed her and have to bury her, etc. But if she's the shemeres yavam, then it's the we have two different kinds. We have her yavam, the lever, the guy who's supposed to marry her. He gets the ksuba, and therefore he has to bury her. Like we said before, Yoshik Subasa, the ones that get the ksuba, whether it's the brothers or really it's the yavam, have to bury her, and the ones who have to feed her are her husband's children. Obviously, if there's children, we're not talking about a case where, a shemeres yavam has no children, right? She's obviously the husband has no children, so she's an almana that has two kinds of yorshim. She has her family, her own family, and she has her husband's family. Otherwise, normally everything just goes to her husband, and there's yorshim there.
There can also be no ifs and no. In other words,
yeah.
In the case of shomer, the yavam, he has a benefit.
Right. We're not talking about whether there's nechsem. Even if we ignore the nechsem, let's go to her family. Here we're talking about she gets nechasim, she gets maintenance from the yisomim, Ma'aser Hashem, but they don't have to bury her. Who does have to bury her? The ones who get her ksuba. No, normally that's the same group. It's the same family, right? It's the same family. So what do you mean there's two different kinds? I mean, it's her husband inherits her, right? And her husband's children, they're the ones who have to feed her. So it's the same bank account, so to speak. No, different in this case, because over here we're talking about shemeres yavam. And the shemeres yavam, it's not really her heirs, it's her husband's children have to feed her, but who has to pay for her burial? Not those children, but the one who inherits her. But isn't it the same? It's not in the case of a shemeres yavam, it's not the same, because it's the yavam is the one who inherits her ksuba, and her husband's children, if her husband's children, or whoever has to maintain her, whoever that could be. That could be whatever, maybe it's from some other group, right? Some other family that she has almanazos. Let's say somebody said them, but she's not. They don't have to feed her. But yarshik subasa, chavik subasa, aren't they one and the same? No. Who's an almana that has two different kinds of yarshim? That's a shemeres yavam. And then you could say one is the nefsei mulug, and one is, you could say that shemeres yavam has both her family and the yavam to deal with. So that's what we mean over here. So again, it's normally the same family, but not always the same family like over here. So here, the determination is who is the one who has to bury her. Is it the ones who get nechsem lig, or is it the yavam? The answer is it's the yavam. Amarava. But why can't the brother Shimon, who's the yavam now? Why can't he say ani yorish ishto? I'm sorry, ani yorish ishto cover. I'm inheriting my brother Reuven, but I don't want to bury her. I don't want to bury his wife. What is that? She's not my wife. Why do I have to bury her? The rule is that you have to bury your wife in return because you're going to keep the ksuba, right? Because the husband inherits his wife. But she's not my wife. I just want to get my rusha. I'm Malay Abaye. So Abaye and Rava had this. We'll see this discussion, right? Abaye said that yes, the husband, the yavam, has to bury her. So Rava said, why can't the yavam say, I want to inherit my brother, but I don't want to bury his wife? I'm like, because we come with like a double whammy. We approach it from both sides. If you inherit your brother, you got to take. If you're inheriting your brother, you're taking your brother's spot, so you got to bury his wife too.
In a chalitza, he doesn't inherit his brother.
No, in chalitza,
where's his brothers? So you should go.
It goes to all the brothers. They divide up among all the brothers.
So,
all the or we go to it goes to the father. Let's say they had a father. Let's say Reuben died and Yaakov was still alive. It goes to the father, right? That's what in the case of chalitza. It goes to the father, or it goes to all the brothers. Okay, but let them divide it up. We're going to talk about those cases later on today and tomorrow. It's going to be in that.
What is the brother of the other?
He gets all of Reuben's assets.
What's that got to do with her? I mean, I understand.
Okay. No, the answer is no. So that's what he says. That's what Rabbi is saying over here. He's saying, look, if you're taking your brother's spot, right? You're taking over his bank account. You got to take his responsibility too to bury the wife, right? And if you don't want to bury his wife, so ye think subasa, then pay her off. Meaning, if you don't want to inherit the wife, then you should pay the ksuba. to the family, so to speak. In other words, you shouldn't take the ksuba. You shouldn't inherit the brother, at least as far as the ksuba is concerned. If you don't want to take responsibility, so you should give up the money also. Amalei, so he answered him. So Rava answered, now Abaye, Hachikamina, listen carefully. What do you mean I should pay the ksuba? Hachikamina, Achani Yorish, I'm going to inherit my brother. I'm Shimon. The Torah says, and I'm the Yavim, I get the brother's assets. As Ishto, I'm not going to bury his wife. Vimishum ksuba, what do you want to tell me? Well, if I'm not going to bury the wife, then at least I have to give, let's say, the ksuba to her. She's dead now, right? Let it, pay for the give that money to her family, so to speak, right? Give it ksuba. The ksuba, unless we're dealing with a divorce case, we're not dealing with a divorce case, he's alive. The ksuba only has to be paid if he dies. It's not talking about her being alive. She's dead. It's talking about him being alive. A ksuba is only basic, unless you're talking about a divorce. We're not talking about a divorce now. When does a man pay ksuba? Only when he dies. If he dies, he has to pay the ksuba. I don't have to pay the ksuba now. What are you telling me? In other words, I'm entitled to inherit my brother. You're telling me I should take the responsibility for burying his wife? She's not my wife. She's my brother's wife. Oh, then if that's the case, I should give up on the ksuba. Why should I give up on the ksuba? I'm still alive. Now, that's what Rava said to Abai. This is an ongoing dialogue. So now Abai is going to answer him this way. What do you mean you can't? You're having this discussion. Does he have to pay the ksuba while he's alive, right? Because that's what we're saying. If you don't want to bury you have to pay the ksuba. Where do you get this from? It doesn't work out. Why? Man Shamisot Islay Medrash ksuba. Who's the one who darshans the words of the ksuba? The ksuba says when you're going to be ready to get married to somebody else, meaning if I die and you get married to somebody else, you're entitled to ksuba. Remember, if she stays in the house, she's just fed, you don't have ksuba. When you give, but she's got to be alive to marry the ksuba, to marry. So who's the one who darshans the words of the ksuba to say, listen, when you get married to somebody else, then you're going to get it right now. But now you're not going to get it. Meaning this goes along with what he's saying, that you can't take the ksuba from me. I don't have to pay the ksuba while I'm alive. Who's the argument? Who says that? Beis Shammai. Why? Beis Shammai says that because Beis Shammai is the one who darshans that Rashi brings down. The Yavamis, he darshans Beis Shammai lo mispar, meaning when a woman says, I know my husband died, she can get married and get her ksuba based on that. She can collect the ksuba based on that. So he's the one who darshan because it says, I'm ready to get married to somebody else. You allow me to get married to somebody else based on her own testimony, because daika minsaba. So that based on my own testimony, I can get married, and that's when I get the ksuba. So Beis Shammai is the one who darshans those words, who interprets the words literally of the ksuba. But Beis Shammai also, a star, which is, if I have an IOU, it's as if it's already mine. So if I owe you money, it's as if you've collected already. Not sort of money. It's as if you've collected. Meaning, if it's ready to be collected, it's as if it's collected already. And if it's collected already, listen carefully. If it's collected, meaning as long as a woman's married to a man, and she's standing to collect the ksuba, it's as if it's hers already. It's as if it's in hers nechasim. It's as if she has assets to it, and therefore, the argument that he doesn't have to pay the ksuba because he's still alive doesn't work, and explains Rashi, therefore he's inheriting it from her. Meaning this, when Ruvain died, what did we say? Shimon takes his place, right? Shimon gets all his assets. If he had $1 million, Shimon gets that. What about the ksuba? The ksuba is as if she's getting it already. Kastar almost livos kagavidami. And therefore, he has to bury her or take his ksuba back. That's the argument that we're using now. This is an ongoing argument. We're not done yet. This is just an ongoing argument. He says, you don't have to pay ksuba, I'm still alive. No, it's as if she collected already. Why? Because who's the one who interprets this way and says that, she's only entitled to ksuba when she gets married, right? Yeah, but it also holds the Shabbos Ligum done. Where do we see, now we go for a little bit of a tangent, where do we see that Beis Shammai holds that a star that's ready to be collected as if it's collected? It's not. Men are taking their wives, we have a question of a sota. A woman is a suspected adulteress, and what do? You go to the Beis Hamikdash, you have to give a kid's theory, and you have the drinking process, etc., right? The whole process of a sota. What happens if on the way to the Bezdin, to the Beis Hamikdash, where they do the whole process, the husband died? So it says that's not Mesa Balain if the husband's died. It's actually in plural, it just means in general. If the husband died, before they drink, they didn't get a chance to drink. What happens if she drinks? If she really committed adultery, she dies. If she didn't commit adultery, shows that she's innocent, then she'll be blessed and she'll have children. Okay. But if she refuses, let's say, to drink, what's the halacha? He divorces her with no ksuba. Let's say the husband died and she can't drink because the husband has to be there. He's the one who's empowered to make her drink. So let's say he died. Beshami says, no, this ksuba below shosas. They get the ksuba. They get the ksuba and they don't have to drink. The husband's dead, so they get the ksuba. Either they drink or they don't get the ksuba. You can't have it both ways. If you've gone through the process, you've had kini and stira, you can't expect to get the ksuba if you didn't drink. So Basil says either drink or you don't get the ksuba. So Gemara says, says, what do you mean? They can't really drink. Hashem said the husband has to bring her there to the court. The husband didn't bring her and he's dead. Now he can't bring her. She can't drink. But like in that, you can't have, and there's no husband. Basil really means that since she can't drink now, because the husband died, she doesn't get the ksuba. So we have machlokas here between Sham Basil. Does she get, so when the husband died, does she get the ksuba or not? She obviously can't drink. Veshami Omer no this ksuba below shosas, they get the ksuba and they don't have to drink. Wait a minute, they get the ksuba. Why should she get a ksuba? When she was in a state where she was a suspected woman, right? There's a possibility she's not going to get a ksuba, right? Either she's going to die or if she's going to refuse to drink, she's not going to get a ksuba. The Yorshim, her husband's Yorshim, who would normally inherit the ksuba when he died, and he died over here, we're talking about where he died, they're Vade Yorshim, right? They stand to inherit everything unless somebody has a claim against it. Well, she has a claim against it, but her claim is now suspect. The Amai, why should she get her ksuba? According to Beis Shammai, Sveiku, it's a suffix. Suffix Zanai, suffix Lozana. We don't know if she committed adultery or not, because he's suffix must be the Vadai. Even though she's a suffix, she's taken away from the Vadai Yorshim. His sons are Vadai Yorshim, right? And she's a suffix. Maybe she's supposed to get, maybe she's not. So why should she automatically get the ksuba? The answer is Ksuba Beis Shammai Shtarom and Libis Gomei, because Beis Shammai holds that it's if it's collected already. It's not like she's coming with a claim now. A ksuba that's outstanding is as if it's collected already. Beisil doesn't say that, but the Shammai says Shtarom. So for Shtarom, that's Ambaya's answer to Rava. Rava said what? Rava says, listen, the guy says, I don't have to pay the ksuba. The oven says, I don't pay the ksuba. I'm still alive. I don't pay the ksuba. I don't pay that. And Abai answered him, yeah, but this goes according to Beis Shammai. Who's the one who says that what the dresh ksuba that you only get collected if when you get married, etc., etc. And now she can't get married because she's dead. In the case we're talking about, the whole issue is where she died. Shemeres Yavam died before there was a yibum. That's Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai holds it's if it's collected already. So therefore, when Ruvain died, it's as if his wife already got her ksuba, and now Shimon is taking it from his wife. So now it's legitimate. You want to keep the ksuba. That means you want to take it back from her. Then you better bury her. So that was Abayi's answer to Rava. And this you say that no that it's not standing. That he can't expect to pay the ksuba while he's alive. Well, the ksuba right, doesn't work over here. You could collect it. So Gemara says, yeah, but it still doesn't work. It doesn't fit into the ksuba. The pasuk says, the ksuba says, "Kshetinasi la'acher titli ma'ashekasav lichi." That's what it says. When you get married, you're going to get the ksuba. How can you say Beis Shammai says, well, it's as if it's collected already, but it says when she's getting married to somebody else, she can't marry somebody else because we're talking about where she died. She can't marry somebody else. But like Amravashi, Yavam nami ka'acher dami. The Yavam is also like an acher, meaning she's like when she was about to get married to someone else. Meaning when Ruvain died, two things happened. She got her ksuba. But she wasn't marrying somebody else. Yeah, she was ready to get married to Shimon. In other words, when Ruvain died, she's standing to get married to Shimon. So it fits into the words of when you get married to somebody else, you're going to get your ksuba. And shtar must get gamadami, so it's as if he's collected already. So therefore, Abayi's answer holds, even though normally we say lo nit ksuba goes mechayim. Over here, it is collected mechayim because it's as if she collected it already. The words of the ksuba, she's not marrying somebody else. No, it's like she married somebody else. Like Rashi says right before the lines get wide, still in the last the narrow lines. Since Reuven's death allowed her to get married to Shimon, she gets to the chasam right away.
Means doesn't mean that as soon as you get married, the wife has a lien on the ksuba. It means, it does, because if it meant that, how come this?
It means that, it means she's already, it's already been like it's collected. It's like she's collected it.
If that's it, how can the husband never deal with his property?
With what?
How does the husband, in a normal marriage, how
Yeah.
does the husband ever deal with his property?
Okay, so,
God.
okay, that's exactly what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about that. Is he entitled to deal and sell his property since all his nechasim are achrai for that? How does he have to? The answer is he's allowed to. We're going to talk about that. But the answer is he's not supposed to pay her off. But the point is, it's as if it's collected already. Also, you could say that's only Beishamai Shita, not Beisol. That's a Beishamai Shita. But still, even if you want to say that goes like Beishamai, so it's as if it's collected already in terms of it's not really collected, right? Because she didn't get it physically, but it's as if it's she has a prior lien anyway on the Ksuba part. She has a prior lien to anybody who bought. The question is, how does he deal in business in general? Then we're going to see the Mishnah said that. Person said shouldn't give. Mishnah said you shouldn't put your money. Okay, here's your money. Here's your $200, and I'm not gonna. I can do whatever I want. I'm not supposed to do that. But we'll see. That's really only an Eitzah Tov. But technically, he could deal with it. The problem is that the Yavam cannot deal with it. Why? Cannot deal with the other assets of his, but because he didn't give her a ksuba. Reuven gave her the ksuba, and he wrote all that stuff, and he said, okay, anything I bought, anything I will buy, all that's going to be meshubah to you. So in turn for that, he could, but Yavam didn't do that. So technically, the Yavam is not allowed to sell. That's going to be a discussion we're going to have now. Shalach by Rava, but again, I told you this is a dialogue. We're not done yet. Rava said that what the ksuba was chaim, and Abaye said it is nitlos chaim because we're like Beishamai that Shtamas is kegavitomi. So therefore, she could collect it while while he's still alive. The ksuba is like it's collected already. Shalcha Rav Abaye, so Rav sent Abaye biyad Rav Shmaya bar Zera. And then Rav Shmaya bar Zera was the shliach over here. He sent this to Abaye. Umina in the ksuba l'smachaim. Can you really say that you can collect the ksuba while the man's still alive? When we're talking about a case of death, right? She can't demand the ksuba while he's still alive. At the time you will learn Rav Abba Omer. Was the following question. Again, a man died, Reuben died, and left his wife Leah to Shimon. Now he wants to sell, and he committed. Shimon, the Yavam, married her. But we just said before, I just mentioned this, and then you asked the question at the right time. The Yavam is not allowed to sell any of the assets, right? Because everything's meshubah to the ksuba. So Rotzim, he wants to do business with him. He wants to do business with his brother's assets. Not allowed to. Kesaros, what should he do? Im Cohen, if he's a Cohen who cannot divorce his wife, he's happily married now. The Shimon happily married Leah. But if he's a Cohen and he can't divorce his wife and take her back because he's a Cohen, Yasa Suri should make a nice big meal, be a fias, and pacify her. Be nice to her. Take her out on a date, take her away for a vacation, do something nice to her, and get permission from her to deal with the assets. If she agrees, says, yeah, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's okay, that's all right. In Yisrael, if he's a Yisrael who could divorce his wife, Megarish Spaghetti should divorce her. He said, listen, deal, I want to do it. I'm not allowed, the rabbis have not permitted me to buy and sell the property that I inherited from Reuven, your former husband. But you want to do business, we want to make money, we want to do business. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to divorce you, pay you the ksuba, then remarry you. And when I remarry you, I'm like any other person who marries his wife, right? We said at the end of the Mishnah that, remember the Mishnah yesterday's Mishnah, that once he divorces her, he could take her back like any other. Might say that, well, Eishazach is really an erva, but it's only in the case of Yibum. Once he made Yibum and divorced her, maybe he can't take her back anymore. You might think that. Kamashma, no. So once he marries her, it's like any other wife. And if he's a Yisrael and he divorced her, he could take her back. So if he's a Yisrael, he should divorce her with a get, if he asks her, and take her back. In a way, this way he could take her back as wife, and then he's free like anybody else to buy and sell the assets that they have in the marriage. Now, that's the finished question. If you say she can collect the civil while he's alive, what do you have to do that for? What do you have to do all these machinations? He should take her out on a date or on a vacation and pacify her if he's a Kohen. And if he's not a Kohen, he should divorce her, go through this ugly process of divorce and take her back, even though they're planning it together. What's the problem over here? If you could say collect the ksuba while he's alive, let us say, listen, how much is your ksuba? $200. Okay, my brother added another $800. It's $1,000. Here's your $1,000. You'll take it from over here. I'm making you a bank account, or I'll put the money in the table over here, and the rest of it sell. Why do you have to go through all this? If you could sell nitnik suba ligus machayim, right? That's what he said to Shalach Rabba Labaya. If you could sell it mechayim, which is what you're saying, right? Rabba's first argument was, I don't have to bury my wife at all. I don't have to bury my brother's wife. I'm his yoresh, and you can't demand the ksuba from me. In other words, I can keep the ksuba anyway because lo mechaim. So Abai says, no, you could collect mechaim. If you can collect mechaim, why can't he just pay her off in this way? So the Gemara is kind of a kasha, asking a kasha from this case that he said, you're asking from over there, right? According to your svara, lo swing mastis. Why don't you ask from the Mishnah? The Mishnah we said yesterday said, lo yomar Allah, he shouldn't tell her, he shouldn't tell her, here's your ksuba, I'm putting it on the table and I can sell everything else. Right? The Yavam should not tell the Shemeres Yavam or the National after he married her that here's your money and I'm able to sell. Rather, you can't do that. You're not allowed to because all his assets are Meshuvah to pay the ksuba. So why don't you ask him there? Why are you asking a kasha from this case where he says if he wants to sell, he should divorce her and do all this stuff? The Mishnah said you're not allowed. You shouldn't say here's the money on the shulchan. Why don't you say from there? There you see that he can't just buy and sell as he wants. You know, says well, Hasam makes a tovah. There is just giving you good advice. In other words, telling you don't do that. Don't put your money in the shulchan and say here's your $200. Why? Because the money might disappear. Another one shouldn't do that. If you don't say it's good advice, it's simply advice over there. In other words, you could sell, but it's simply advice. Look at the Sefer. Sefer, the Sefer talks about not a case of a Yavam. The end of the Mishnah talks about any man. But no man should tell his wife, here's your money. I'm putting it on the table. You'll collect from here after I die. A man can never do business. You get married, you have a ksuba, you're not allowed to buy or sell anything. Why? Because you have a ksuba over there. Is giving you good advice. You shouldn't do that because that money might disappear. Better to say, nobody knows what's going to happen between now and the time of death, what assets he'll have. Better to say all my assets that I bought and that I will buy, it's all mishubah to your ksuba, you have a first lien. This is simply a good eitzah. What does it mean? It's simply a good eitzah that in the case of the yavam or in the case of just like in the case of regular husband, it's good advice. Don't do that. Don't put money aside and say this will be your ksuba. Better to have everything so that money won't disappear. So elder Rav Abba kasha. So what about Rav Abba? Oh my gosh. So what does Rav Abba just said? If a man marries his yavama, what should he? And he wants to buy and sell. If he's a Kohen, he should pacify her. If he's Yisrael, he should divorce. What do you divorce her for? What do you have to divorce her for? Just set aside money. Isn't it more of a busha to divorce her and take her back and to get around the issue? The whole business about not buying and selling is only good advice. But if you want to buy and sell, so you buy and sell. You don't listen to that. So Elder Rav Abba kasha. Why does he say you should do that? The Rav Namilo kasha mishum eva. Listen to this. Rashi says. Rav Abba's eitzah is a better eitzah, even though it involves divorcing her, than putting money aside. Why? Because if you divorce her, it's a plot that they both conspire to. The husband and wife said, "Listen, I want to buy and sell." The rabbi said I shouldn't, so I'll tell you what. Let's get divorced, and I'll remarry you, and I'll remarry you like any other husband, even though by a regular husband, it's also eitzah tova, but then there's no problem. That's better than if a man says, "Here's your ksuba," because when a man says, "Here's your ksuba," I'm putting the money aside. It looks nice and simple, but she has feelings where, he's ready to divorce me. He's ready to divorce me. That's what Rashi says, Mishum Eva, Hamiyachad Lishto, Okarka, O Metaltman, Nosin, Avas, Olam Benayim. They're always in a fight. The Suffer ain't of Nosim Gush, because you feel, he's already ready to divorce me. Here's the by the way, the Ksuba, I'm preparing the money now. This marriage isn't going to last very long. Avozesha Megarish, Al but he says, listen, I want to let's get divorced, and I'll remarry you right away. So he didn't set it aside. That's not so bad. Yada de loas and there won't be interesting. That's how they look at it. You might see it differently, right?
As a lawyer, I would say set it aside.
Set it aside.
Set it aside.
Yeah, but that's how life works. And you set it aside. Don't forget, in those days they didn't have bank accounts and money you can set aside. If the money's here on the table, it'll disappear. The money.
Also setting up a situation where that's all this karkas mishubah, right? For the ksuba, and he sells it. That person he sells it to
Right.
But in a situation.
All his
where-
assets, right, but all his assets, even if he sets the money aside, technically it's still all his assets are Meshubah. Technically, right? Because if that money disappears, but it'll disappear and maybe, they'll think that. It's more like a feeling. This is like some stuff, let's have another ksuba. Let's say that money sets aside and the money gets lost or stolen. He's supposed to give her another ksuba. So technically all his assets are Meshubah to her anyway. That's it. So, but here we're having this discussion. So we're saying now that what happened? Rav had said, "Lo mechayim," and Abaya said, "No, it could be collected mechayim because if you go like Beshamai, that Sharon could go with him." He tried to counter it with this argument. This is not an argument because you can see over here that you say if what do we try to say that if you say nidik subulus mechayim, let it be miyachid and the shar lisbon. But the answer is that you're not really supposed to do that anyway. But you can't prove from over here that the ksuba is collect mechayim or it's not collecting mechayim, because even if you hold that the ksuba goes mechayim like Beishamai, but over here you're not supposed to do that. It's not good advice. You don't do those kind of things. You don't set the money aside.
He gives a new suit when he remarries.
Either one. If he either with he pays her off, and he would have to give her a new ksuba. He could marry Aldas the first ksuba, but then he didn't write a ksuba, and he didn't really get around the problem. Because the whole problem with the Yavim is since he didn't write a ksuba, everything is meshubah to her. Whereas if a man normally marries, he says, "Listen, everything I buy, I'm going to buy in the future," but that because he involves all assets and he puts that in the ksuba, he's entitled to buy and sell technically. It's only the Yavam that the Torah said, or the rabbi said, since he didn't give her ksuba, automatically he can't buy and sell. He's like prohibited from buying and selling. Well, until there's a new ksuba. There's a story with a man. Yavama felt him in Pumpadisa. We're going to tell this story because tomorrow we're going to refer to this story again. The story in Pumpadisa. Boy, achua lepafsala begite. You asked before about who gets the ksuba, right? Reuben dies and he left a wife Leah to Shimon. Shimon's, but there's also Levi and Yehuda. And Levi and Yehuda said, wait a minute, Reuben died, he was a very wealthy man. Now Shimon's going to marry her. He's the oldest, he's entitled to, he gets first dibs, right? If he marries her, he gets all the assets. Wouldn't it be good if we split up all the assets together, right? Levi and Yehuda also want his assets, right? So what they do is, remember what they do, one of them sends her a get knows in Balkarchach, and if he gives her a get, even though you don't give a get to a Yavama, but if we had learned in Yavama, so if you give her a get, the other brother can't marry her anymore. Once you give her a get, he postled her. So one of the brothers went, boy, one of the brothers wanted to give her a get to say this way, nobody can make Yibam on her, and therefore we'll all split the Yerusha, right? Let me get to me there. Amalei, so Shimon the Yavam said, my tata, what's the reason? You want to split the Nechasim with me? I'll tell you what, I'll split it with you. However, that's the problem, that he can't. He's not allowed to sell anything. Right? He's not allowed to buy and sell anything. So if he sells it and splits the money, he can't do that. He can't sell it. Amar Rav Yosef. So we have machlokas. Amar Rav Yosef. Kivna Amar Rabbanan lo lisbon. Since the Rabbanan said what? That a yavam should not buy and sell. Right? Yavam's not allowed to sell anything. Afagav dozav and lavis vinas vina, because it's not a good sale. The rabbi said you shouldn't do it. Now we said before, is it eitzah tova or not? Right? So Rav Yosef said since the rabbi said you're not allowed to sell, even though he sold it, it's not a sale. Meaning his promise to them that I'm going to play with, I'll split it with you, is meaningless because he can't split it up. He can't split it up. He has to. It's all his and hers until death, right? The Tanya Misha Mace. Man died and he left a wife, Leah, with no children, and he left $1 million. And maybe the ksuba is only like $100, right? It's only 100, but he had up to $1 million. Lo yimkor, he's not allowed to sell any of the assets. So Rebbe says you're not allowed to touch it anyway. He can't sell it. He can't split it with them. And giving it to them, giving to the other brothers is also selling it effectively. Gifting it or selling it is distributing. You can't do that. Amalei Abaye, wait a minute. Just because they said not to sell it, that means it's not a valid sale? They're telling you not to sell it, but if you sold it's a good sale. The time we had at the beginning of the parak, what do we have at the beginning of the parak? Remember, if she got assets and the felt her after they got engaged, before they got married, Beishami says she can buy and sell. They're not married yet. They still says of this on low timker she shouldn't sell. But even by Beisol's moda, that if she did it, it's a valid sale. So what do you see? Even though they told you not to do it, the Beisol said don't sell. If you sell, it's valid. Pardon?
Like selling with the land.
It's selling, yeah, right. It's selling the land. Yeah, she is really exactly, but you're allowed to buy and sell. So we have this machlokas here. Rabbi Yosef says you can't sell, and therefore whatever he promised them is meaningless. It's just a game. He's just trying to discourage them from giving her a get so he can keep all the money. And Abaye said, but what do you mean? Why can't he sell it? He can if he makes a deal with them. Rashi says they made a kinyan with the brothers. Why can't he do it? Sure, you're not supposed to, but if he did it, it's done. Shachu, they sent this question. Shachu made Rav Chanina bar Papi. They sent this question to Rav Chanina bar Papi from Sholcho to Rav Yosef, and he answered. He said, Rav Yosef is right. You can't sell, and therefore you can't make a deal with his brothers. I'll split it with you. Amar Abaya, Atur Rav Chanina bar Papi, keep it Tola. Rav Chanina bar Papi paskin like Rav Yosef. Did he hang jewels on this? What do you mean? Rav Yosef didn't. He didn't give a reason why he paskin like Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef said that that you're not supposed to sell. But did he give a reason that if you do sell, it's not a valid sale? Did he give any good reason for it? Did he? Shachol come out of Yumi Braid. He said they sent the same question to a different rabbi, Rav Meir Shapiro, because they weren't satisfied with Rav Chanina bar Papi because he just said, "Yeah, go like Rav Yosef." He didn't explain it, so they sent this question to him, Sholcha Karabaya, and he said, like Abaye answered, "No, that if you sell, it's a valid sale." The Amar bar Rav Yosef time achrina Shochali, and he said, "You know what? the way I see things like Abaye is right. If you sell it, like you said, Beisol says you're not supposed to sell in a certain case, and if you do sell, it's a valid sale. I agree with Abaye. It would be a valid sale, and he could make a deal with the brothers here. However, if Rav Yosef has a good reason, if you see some underlying reason that you can convince me, I'm willing to be convinced. Shokli sent it to me. Nothing Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef went out, doc, and he checked, and he found the tanya of this case. Listen to this case. What happened over here? Reuven had lent money to Shimon. We're still dealing with the same Reuven and Shimon. Reuven is the one married to Leah, dies with no children. But Reuven had lent money to Shimon. So Shimon owed his deceased brother money. Listen carefully. Shimon owed his brother money. Now what happened? Umes, and he died. Now, if you owe somebody money, and the guy dies, so you owe it to his children, to his heirs, right? Let's say Umes, and now this guy, Reuven, died. Lo Yomar, Shimon cannot say, Vashani Yor, since I'm getting Yerusha anyway, I just got my loan back. I owe the guy money, right? I owe the guy money. I don't have to pay it back because I'm going to get it anyway, right? I'll be paying myself. I'm taking out one pocket, giving the other one. You can't say that. You can't do that. Why? Ella, Motziim Yavam, he owes him $100. You take the money out of there, and buy karka for the wife. It's nothing mulug, right? Even if he marries, even though he married, of course, it only works when he marries Leah, right? He marries her. If he doesn't marry, he doesn't inherit, right? But he marries her. He wants to say, listen, I don't have to pay back the money now because it's my money, right? No, you take the money from him and you pay her off. You pay her off effectively. So you spend money on the karka v'ochel peres. So what do you see over here? So Rabbi Yosef found the reason to say, meaning that the brother cannot sell. In other words, here we're comparing him paying back the loan and then taking the money back. He's playing around with the money. That's the idea. He's playing around with the assets, meaning it's the money really, he borrowed $100 from Reuven, right? When Reuven's alive. Reuven died now. He still owes him $100. That $100 belongs to Reuven, not to Shimon. He can't say, I'm the heir over here. It belongs to Reuven. What do you want to do? You effectively give it back to Reuven after he's dead and then take it again. You're playing with his money. You're not allowed to. So there's a proof. You can't play with you can't play with Reuven's money or Reuven's assets after he's dead. Maybe they're just giving him good advice. And I was giving good advice. It's a tov again, that buy karka, so it'll be there, and the money, money will get lost. Money disappears. I always tell the people, buy real estate, you have something, it's in the ground, right? You have something in the ground. If it's just cash, the cash disappears quickly, right? So maybe they're just giving you advice. Amalei, so you answer, what do you mean? Tana Tani, the Tana learned Motzian, right? It says over there, if Shimon doesn't want to deposit the money back into Reuben's estate now, right? If he doesn't want to put it back in, you take it out of him. During Motzian's mashma bal karchach. La'atamrit the tavalev, and you're thinking they're giving him good advice. Hadashachlu committed Rav Meir grade Rav Nachum. They said, Amalu Hochi Rav Yosef Rav Meir. This is what Yosef Rav Meir said. I don't know if it's the same Rav Meir. Rav Nachman, Zu ain't a Mishnah. This is not a Mishnah at all. In other words, this is we just said the story that if Shimon's brother died and Shimon owed him money, he's now to say, well, I'm getting paid back anyway. I don't. The loan is, so to speak, gone. because it's if I paid him back because I'm getting the money away. That's not a proper Mishnah. It's not an authentic Mishnah. There's a mistake there. My time. So what do you mean it's a mistake? If it's because this is metalton, what happened? Shimon had borrowed money, right? Borrowed money, and now from Reuben, and Reuben died, so he owes him the $100, right? But that's metalton. Metalton is not mishum to b'ksuba anyway. So that's the reason that this Mishnah doesn't make any sense. You say no, you have to take that money and buy assets with her and give it. But you can say that the Mary, the Amar metalton mishablik that we had before. If she got cash or she got whatever came into it, whatever you buy a karka with it, whatever it was, the talton that he has is mishum to the ksuba, and he goes to Kameir. Ve'elamishum, or I'll tell you another reason why it doesn't make any sense. Why? Because what happens over here? Reuben's dead. He owed money to Reuben. What are you going to say? That she should get the money, right? The wife died. He died. She should get the money. So there's no children over here, right? So the money should go for exhibit. You could tell her, I have no business with you. I had a business with Reuben. Reuben's dead. He has no children. He has no other heirs. He has no children. So I don't have any business with you. I can keep the money. What do you want from me? I don't owe you any money. In other words, I don't know anything anyway. Not because it's as if I paid it back and I'm borrowing it again. I have no business with you. I owed somebody money and the guy died. And he has no heirs. What happens? I keep the money. What are we going to do? Yeah, maybe that's the reason why that mission doesn't make any sense when it says he has to take the money that he owes and buy real estate with it. Dilma Rav Nosson, maybe it goes like Rav Nosson. Rav Nosson has the famous drush at the time of Nosson Omer. A is owed $500 from B, right? And and B is owed $500 from C. So how do you know that A can go to C? Basically, C owes B and B owes A. How do you know that A can get the money from C? So what seems is you take it from this, you take it from C and give it to A. You give it to the one who he's responsible to, because effectively C is responsible to A. Based on that drush, he learns this. So maybe over here too. What do you want to say? That maybe the reason is why would the Mishnah make sense that he has to buy karka with the money that he owed to the brother? Because even though Shimon owed the money to Reuben really owes the money to his wife, right? He died, left a wife. He has to pay the ksuba to her, so he owes money to her. So it's like A to B and B to C. Ella. So maybe that's why you want to say, okay, the Mishnah can't go. You want to say the Mishnah doesn't make sense. Why? Because it's metalton like ksuba. Dilma Rav Meir metalton ksuba that it goes like a mayor. Even if it goes, you want to say a mayor, he could say, listen, I have no business with you. I do have business with you. Because in that case, C cannot tell A, wait a minute, I owe money to B. B owes you money, it got nothing to do with me. No, Rav Nosson holds that if C owes money to B and B owes money to A can go to C and say, pay me directly. Pay me directly. You might think, well, you can say, I got no business with you. I owe money to B. B's not asking for the money. I don't know you. No, A can go to C. So if that's the case here too, the woman, the wife, could go to the husband, the new husband who just was beyond her and say, listen, that money that you owe to my old husband, I want karka. I want you to spend money on karka. So maybe this mission does make sense. Ella, there's the reason why. Ksuba is Rabbanan, as we've learned, right? Ksuba basically is Rabbanan. Even if you say it's the rice, it's really more like an asmachta, more psulos, that there's it's basically so you shouldn't, Rabbanan said that you should think twice about divorcing your wife, right? So Ksuba is Rabbanan. You don't find that on a chumrah Rabbanan that they installed two other chumras. In other words, the chumrah of Rav Meir, that metaltlin, the money, the $100 is meshubah to the ksuba, and you hold like Rav Nosson. Rav Nosson, these are two different chumras, and there's no Tana who holds of both of them, because here you have to hold the both of them. Both that the money is meshubah to the ksuba, and that the money that he owes to Reuven effectively is owed to the wife. We don't find that. Ella lo ashken Tana de machmer trei chumri. They hold both like Rav Nosson and like Rav Meir. Ella ikra Meir, ikra Nosson. You can hold like one or like the other. You can like Rav Meir, like Nosson, but you don't hold two of them. And therefore, that mission doesn't make any sense. So, in terms of the whole discussion over here, we're saying that what happened? We had the Machzigal, like Rabbi Yosef says you can't sell. Abai says you could sell, and then we tried to prove. He says, okay, Rabbi Yosef found a Mishnah that says you can't sell. Why did he say this? This case there where Shimon owed his brother Reuven money. Reuven died, and Shimon's not allowed to say, well, I'll just keep the money. He has to give her the money. That Mishnah doesn't make any sense. Because in order to say that he has to give her the money, basically buy karka for her, you have to hold the both Rav Meir and Rav Nassan. And we don't find somebody who holds like that when it buy a drabban of a ksuba. Elikar Meir Rav Nassan. Amar Rav Im Kain Hainu the Shemana Le'Abai. This makes sense now. I heard Abai say Amar Zu ain't a Mishnah. Abai said this is not a Mishnah. I didn't know what he was talking about. Now I understand why that Mishnah is not a Mishnah, and therefore Abaya's argument stands that the husband could sell. Right, that if he sells, he's not supposed to. Yavam is not supposed to sell any of the assets that he inherits now from Reuven, from his brother. He's not supposed to sell him, but it's all meshubit. Oh, Eitzah Tova is you want to get the money, so do it in a nice way. Either pacify her and get her permission. Remember, if he's a Kohen, get her permission. If she agrees to it, then it's no problem. She agrees to it. It's her own life that's at stake. It's her own assets. If she agrees to it. Or if he's Yisrael and they both agree to it, the Knunya, give her a get and they go back and then they can invest in real estate and the stock market and do whatever they want with the money. That's the way to do it. But to say that it's usher for him to do it, he's not supposed to sell it. But if he did, it's a sale. That's mashma like a buy that he could sell it. All right, tomorrow's Gemara starts with the two dots. We're up to Mahu Gavra. So tomorrow, the first day of Rosh Hashanah is Daf Pei Beis. The second day of Rosh Hashanah is Daf Pei Gimel. Listen carefully. They're both on the podcast, and on Wednesday. Next time we'll be at Wednesday. Psalm Gedalia. We'll pick it up from the Mishnah on Pei Daled. Tomorrow's stuff is Pei Beis. That ends the parak. And Tuesday's daf, second day of Rosh Hashanah, is Pei Gimel, and the podcast will take you till the Mishnah on Pei Daled. On Wednesday, Mitzvah Shem will only have about 20-25 minutes to learn because of the slichas. We'll start from the Mishnah on Pei Daled. Siva Simatov with everybody. Pardon?
Siva Simatov with everybody.
Halfway down the page, and we're starting at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday. Okay.
Take care, everybody.